Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to Ask the Experts. My name is Hassani.
I'm Danielle.
And here it is, our second night to answer your questions. And guess what? We're going to do it every single night, Monday through Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you tell all your family, all your friends, and they must
Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe, guys. Hit that notification bell. You already know the drill. When you do that, you won't miss an episode. And you help us spread this message all across the world, which is what you're doing already. So thank you for doing that. And thank you for joining us for our evening show. I like to call it Ask the Experts After Dark. So make sure that you come on here and ask your burning questions. And sometimes, we're going to have experts on here, other experts, people who are on our team. Sometimes it's going to just be us, but every time we're going to answer your questions. So make sure you're ready when we go live.
Last Chance Weekend, December 10th through the 12th. I'm not going to play the video tonight, but you know what it is. Just go to the link in the description, find out more about that. Also, if you need help, text "Help Me" to 866-351-2520, and we will make sure that we get to you as soon as possible. All right, we're jumping into questions. They're coming in here. Love it, love it, love it. We had a question that came in a little bit earlier, so we're going to take the time to address that. Number one, my hubby slept with several women. He's not cooperative to talk things out. Children are stressed. I'm depressed. We lack communication. Funds misused. He's proud and arrogant. What can I do?
Wow. Well, sis, it's time for you to make some major decisions in your life. You're dealing with somebody who you said is arrogant. He cheated on you. He's not willing to have a conversation, not willing to go to counseling, I'm assuming. And so now the only thing that you can do is take care of you, right? So you've got some decisions to make. Mm-hmm. If I were you, the first step that I would take before I do anything is I would get into some counseling. You're dealing with depression. You also have these babies you have to take care of and all the other things that are happening in your world. You really don't want to try to do this by yourself. Get yourself into some strong counseling so that someone can hold your hand and help you navigate through this tough situation in your life.
You do not have to do this alone. And when you make decisions out of desperation, hurt, and pain, you'll probably make a rash decision that does not serve you or your family. And so listen, in these type of situations, you have to find out the source of the husband's motivation. There's always a motivation. Because right now I just started doing counseling with a couple. The husband was resistant. I did individual sessions with the one partner to come up with strategy to get the husband on board. And after 3 individual sessions, guess what? We are now in couple sessions. So even if you think, you know what, my husband's too far gone, my wife's just not interested, what's the point? I might as well go my own way. Start with you. Thank you. Start with you. And oftentimes, doesn't that transition into couples counseling?
Often it does.
Happens with a lot of our couples. And then once we can identify motivation and the spark of hope, all things are subject to change. Here's another question. Can you read that, Daniel?
Hi, top couple. I asked my husband to give me a date for counseling. He said he will go. I have not received the date, and it's been a month. Do I keep asking or wait? I am working on me as I wait. I would keep asking. I think that one of the struggles couples have most is they just don't communicate. And so you're like sitting there wondering what's going on. It might be a real viable reason. I would actually have a serious conversation with him and remind him of the commitment that he made. He said he was going to do this. Now let's move forward. I would go ahead and book this. I would find out what his schedule is and go ahead and book the session and make sure that...
Exactly. That's what I would do.
Hassani has people do this all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead and get his schedule, find out what it is, get him to agree to a date that's prepared for his schedule, and then book it. And then you go and show up to that counseling session. But absolutely, I would reach back out to him and actually talk to him. Why aren't we doing this? What's the holdup? What's the issue? Get some understanding.
You know what's so powerful about that? Because a lot of times a spouse gets their husband or wife's okay, but it's just like, fine, I'll do it. I said I'll do it. Then there's a hesitation and resistance to do it because, well, my spouse is not fully in. I don't feel like they're just doing it because they want to do it. I feel like we're just going to be going through the motions and wasting our time. And I'm like, wait a minute. You've been fighting for the yes. You got it. Take the yes and run. Do it. Yeah. Because a lot of times people aren't motivated. They're not excited. They're not interested. They don't want to do it. Right. But something miraculously happens in that sessions that may turn his or her heart around and open them up to the possibility that maybe things can get better. And we say it all the time. There's 3 type of couples that we work with. Couple number 1, they both want it. Couple number 2, one wants it, one's unsure. Couple number 3, one wants it, one does not. But yet and still they go through the process, and we have an overwhelming success rate of those that have made the decision to take the journey ahead and to work on the restoration of their marriage. So I don't care if they give you a resistant, a hesitant, a begrudged yes. You better take that yes and do something with it, because once you get into our hands, maybe things, can shift in the right direction.
Absolutely. Let's go to this question here. My husband says he never slept with this woman, but that's not what the message says. Why is he lying with proof? And why do cheaters never erase the messages? Do they want to be found out?
Well, those are two different questions. If we take the latter question, why don't they erase the messages? Do they want to be found out? Interestingly enough, I don't know about your husband, and I don't know about most, but there are individuals who do want to be found out. There's some people who are in affairs and they intentionally get sloppy because they want to be exposed, either for one or two reasons. Either they want it to be exposed because they want their spouse to end the marriage because they don't have the audacity to do it themselves, or they're trapped in a situation they know they should get out but don't know how, aren't strong enough, and leave evidence, leave clues, become sloppy to be exposed. And so once it comes out in the light, that forces them out of that affair relationship, and they were waiting for such an opportunity to do it. So it happens for many reasons for many people.
Yet he's caught and he's still lying. So, I mean, in this case, he's caught. You got messages, you got receipts all day long, and he is still lying. So even though he got sloppy, because people do get sloppy, and also some people are just not great liars. Some people are just not great at hiding their stuff. And, then you might be a great detective too. We don't know the story. But at the end of the day, he's sitting here telling you that he hasn't done something that you clearly know that he's done. This is someone who doesn't have strong ethics and strong values. And this is someone that you really need to consider suggesting that he goes to counseling if he wants this relationship to continue, because that's where you're at. He's been unfaithful. So it's either you sit there and you deal with somebody who's unfaithful to you, and that's what it is, or you let him know that this is the line you're drawing in the sand. We're going to get into some counseling to fix this, or your other option is you deciding that you don't want to be in this relationship. Those are the options that you have. I would say reach out and get somebody to help you see if you can fix your relationship.
But my question is, what is it about the person who has all the evidence? They have eyewitness reports. They have text messages, videos, pictures. They have everything, signed confessions, but still are waiting to hear from their partner what the truth is, even though they continue to deny it.
Yeah.
Like what? So if I don't, with my own eyes, catch you in the live act, I'm still going to give you the benefit of doubt that maybe it didn't happen. What keeps people holding on?
I don't think it's that. I don't think it's the person doesn't, needs them to validate what they already know. I think there's a part of them that wants to see, will you come clean? Will you be honest with me? I've literally caught you. I'm still standing by your side. I'm giving you the chance. Many women will say, and I'm speaking from the women's perspective, all I needed was for you to be honest. Like, you didn't even get that part. Like, you literally cheated on me. I caught you. Here are the receipts. And I'm still standing here giving you a chance to be honest with me before I run out of grace and I'm done. So I think it's not necessarily that they don't know or they don't believe what's before their very eyes. It's just that they're trying to give them, they're extending grace, and they're trying to give them the chance to come clean, to see, will you be honest? Or are you going to continue to lie straight to my face?
And what type of individual, after having all of this evidence put before you, continues to deny it? That speaks to some internal issues that can only be worked out in individual counseling. And that's why we believe in both couple and individual simultaneously. Here's another question that was sent to us. It's anonymous. I cheated on my husband with my ex 2 years ago. He found out and now doesn't want to have sex or be intimate. He's cold, distant, and avoidant. He absolutely doesn't want counseling. I'm not sure what to do.
I mean, there's a lot in that. You think about, you cheated with your ex, so this is someone that you had an intimate relationship with prior to him. I don't know what was going on in your bedroom that required for you to do that. But what I'm thinking of is that any man that has to now compete with your last sex partner is going to be shut down, not want to have sex, not want to engage at all. There's that whole comparison thing going on in his mind, right? Like, you chose another man over him, and now anytime he lays down with you, the thoughts of that other man are going to be in his head. Anybody who deals with infidelity is going to deal with the same thing. but I can only imagine that that's probably partly why he's so distant, he's so cold. You haven't had any counseling to work these things out and talk it out, so that's your first step.
Absolutely. Couldn't say it better myself. Sean has a question. When an affair comes to light, the unfaithful partner sees the pain he caused his family. Why do relapses happen? What goes on in the mind to be able to do such a thing? Well, you have to understand that me seeing you go through pain and hurt doesn't solve or resolve the issue that led to my affair in the first place. So yes, I am sad. I'm in pain. I can't believe I've done this. I've devastated the family, but yet there's something in me, a root cause, a root issue that hasn't been addressed that drives me into these inappropriate relationships, and that is still not solved. Now, for many people, it may be a number of different things. You know, when we talk about the 4 types of an affair, you have the one-night stand, you have emotional entanglement, you have sexual compulsion, you have the marital void. We would have to understand the root cause and the reasoning for him stepping out in the first place and address those particular issues. So having empathy and sorrow and remorse in one space is not a solve to the issue that led to the affair in the first place. Think about a person who's addicted to drugs or to alcohol. They know the harmful effects on their life, on their family, on everything, yet and still they're driven to it. There's something that's calling them, right? And so I think that can only be unpacked in one-on-one sessions or counseling sessions. Another question, when it comes to an affair, what is okay to know and not know? Is there ever too much information that can be more damaging to the betrayed spouse? Yeah, it depends on who the person is. Some people are wired to have to know everything, and until I know it all, then I'm not going to have resolve, I'm not going to heal, I'm not going to be able to move forward. Then some people have no desire to know it all, for anything that they hear is crushing to their ego, it will haunt them in their minds, and they can't move forward. Because to your point, you can't unsee, you can't unhear, you can't unlearn. So really that's an individual determination based upon your particular wiring.
Perfectly stated. There's a comment here from Rachel saying, my husband prioritizes his family and his kids back home and rarely prioritizes me or the marriage. I feel unwanted and am contemplating divorce. And it goes on to say, he is not the easiest person to talk to when it comes to things like this. I don't want to give up, but feel like I don't have a choice. You know, there's got to be a lot more to the story than this, right? These are the surface issues that you're talking about, not prioritizing the family, not prioritizing the marriage. You're already at the point of wanting to quit. It's hard to know exactly what's going on, but quitting is never an option, right? We don't get into marriage to just quit. We have to figure out what's going on and what's broken and see what we can do to fix it. Has he been unfaithful? Or is that an issue? Do you have issues in the bedroom? Like all the different issues that can affect the marriage are what you want to dial into and see what you can figure out before you're ready to call it quits. And maybe he's open to counseling. Have you asked him? Have you invited him to a counseling session just to work on your marriage and see if you can make it better? That would be the first thing I would invite.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, right? And here's the reality. Some people just prioritize family over marriage. For some, it's a cultural thing. You know, the culture I come from, you know, there's an allegiance to family first, and then the spouse who's not blood, you've made the decision to marry them, but they're second, right? So it's important for you to identify your priorities and in what order you prioritize them. If God, marriage, family, work, and personal is my list of priorities, but for you, it's work, personal, God, family, and marriage, we have a problem. And this is what we mean by getting in alignment with each other to make sure that we're on the same path, going in the same direction. The Bible says, can two walk together unless they be in agreement? So it's important to come into agreement as it relates to what it is that you need in this marriage. Listen, you're watching Ask the Experts. We'll be right back after this quick commercial break. Post your questions. We'll be right there.
the Experts, our evening show. And I want to go to this comment from Lucia. Hey, Lucia and Gil. It says, hi, you two. We are using the tools we learned with Hassani, and things are better day by day. We would not have a future without you. We love you guys. Thank you so much for that comment and tuning in tonight.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure spending a weekend with you, and we look forward to the continual work that we're going to do to go to the next pitch of your marriage.
Absolutely. We have a comment here. Ty says, my spouse cheated with a girl that lived in a house with us. His mom considered this girl a daughter. Me and his mom did not get along. His mom still communicates with the girl. My spouse swears that there's nothing going on with the girl, but I continue to find evidence stating otherwise. I express how much this is caused me depression, and my spouse still continues to sneak around with this girl at least once a year because of him not being pleased with me. But he tells everyone he loves me. Okay, we have an and, but this is, I guess, enough to comment on. Do you want to take this on?
You can get rid of that. It's a problem. It's a major problem. So did it say that the girl is living in the house with
the girl is living in the house, and the girl is considered to be like a daughter by his mother.
Mm-hmm. And she believes there's something going on, though he denies it.
He's sneaking around with this girl.
I mean, so you know, when there's an assumption, when there is a suspicion that something is going on, you know, I always encourage people, before you even bring it to them, become a detective, do your research, and have hard evidence. Because if you don't have hard evidence, it's easy to just deny it. It's easy to flip it on you and say, what are you talking about? Are you crazy? Like, that's just so insane. And it can make you look like the fool, because just like, well, what evidence do you have to support your claim? And if there is none, then what do you have to stand on? So I'm not saying that you have to have, you know, pictures and video, but you want to begin to establish a pattern. What is happening? You know, what is their dialogue like? What is their energy? Are they physically touching? How often do they communicate? How often do they get together? Like, I would say, sit back in the cut, watch and observe, take notes, and present a case before your partner, because if you don't have enough, then it can easily be denied. But they've been in the house for quite some time, and, you know, my thing is this.
Who is this girl?
Yeah, number one, who's this girl?
And why is she living with you, under the roof with you and your husband, if she's a single woman? Like, I'm not understanding that. Sometimes you have to make big girl and grown up man decisions and put somebody out. Find someplace else for them to be. There are other folks that can help, you know, because sometimes you start out with the right intention. Somebody fell on hard times. They don't have a place to stay.
Mm-hmm.
They were your friend. You want to invite them in. You're helping them out.
Mm-hmm.
But when it becomes toxic to your relationship, you have to make different decisions. And it sounds like this person should have been gone, and not living under your roof. And now if he's sneaking around with her, well, now he's in an affair. And now we have to deal with this like you would deal with any affair. You either get into some strong counseling, draw your line in the sand, and you demand counseling, or you have to make other decisions.
If there hasn't been an affair, it seems at the least what this is a close call friendship. And when you're dealing with the signs of a close call friendship, and we have a video on it that you can find online, we talk about the 19 signs. And so if the signs are lining up, it's an indication that something is inappropriate and needs to be stopped.
This is, I mean, beyond even a close call friendship, like, I mean, it's beyond that, because this person is under your roof.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
you know?
a close call, a close call friendship can either not be an affair, it's just too close, or a close call friendship could be a full-on affair.
Yeah.
But these are the signs that give you an indication. And one of the signs is, if there is an individual that is causing a problem for a spouse, then that relationship is worthy to be discussed and cut off, because nothing should compromise the primary relationship between a husband and a wife.
Absolutely, period. We got another comment here from Derek, who says, what do you do when you're completely honest but your wife doesn't believe you? I mean, that's, you know, it is an indication to me that maybe there's two things. Either your wife has a problem just in trusting people. right? And this could come from her own marinade. It could come from issues that she struggled with her entire life, that she just doesn't trust people. She could suspect everyone. It could be a part of her personality style. You know, sixes in particular, if you know anything about the Enneagram, they are suspicious people, right? And so then you have to prove yourself before they will trust you. Or you have given her a reason not to trust you and not to believe you. And so there's something in your past together that gives her an indication that you can't be trusted, and there are things that you're doing now that are triggering her to cause her to not trust you now. I would just dial into one of those and figure out which path it is. If there's some issues in your relationships and you're bringing it in and you're doing some things that is causing her not to trust, maybe you're hanging out too late or hanging out with close call relationships, as Hassani said, then you got to get back on track, get into some counseling so somebody can support you in that.
Here's a great question. Can someone honestly not know why they cheated? And I would say honestly, no. I don't think anyone doesn't know. I think they may not feel comfortable telling you. I think that they may be resisting sharing information with you because they don't want to cause further hurt and pain. But even if you don't know on a deep level, there's a surface knowing. Right? There's always something that you can point to as a contributing factor. But when you're completely clueless and brainless and don't have a thought as to why, I find that very, very difficult to believe. And if that's the case, that's even more scary than someone who has a reason, because at least you had a reason and you were consciously aware of the decision that you made. But if you're completely clueless, then I don't stand a chance. And we're in a deeper issue than what I initially thought. Listen, when people say, I don't know, I just don't know. I don't know, those three words are reserved for two people, victims and children, okay? And so in his particular case or her particular case, when people are unfaithful to their spouse, when they say, well, I don't know why I did it. I don't know.
Come on, you know. And you know what, a great way to, like a way to kind of dial in and figure out what's going on is when somebody says, I don't know, then you say, well, what do you know? And then you just let them talk. Usually what they do know is the reason why they did what they did. You know, the complaints start coming and all the issues, because sometimes people are just buried. They bury their emotions. They don't know how to deal with it. They don't talk. They're not a communicator. And so they'll never outrightly tell you what the issue is, but you know what the issue is. It's just that you're not able to communicate it. So when somebody says, I don't know, and they're just stuck in confusion, ask them, well, what is it that you do know? And just let them talk.
And on top of that, I don't even care what their answer is. If they give you what they believe the why is, that why is still not enough. Because think about it. It's almost, and we've used this example before, you know, something's wrong with your car, the light's coming on the dashboard, and you go to the mechanic on the corner and he turns it on and he starts listening and banging on things, and he's just, I think it's your carburetor. Yeah, it's going to be about $800. Versus you go to a legitimate dealership and they strap your car up to a bunch of machines and do a diagnostic examination to determine what is actually going wrong, and they give you a printout and they give you all the things that are happening underneath the hood that you are not aware of. See, you see the difference? And so when you go to a counselor, someone guiding you through a process, they're taking you through such a diagnostic approach to unpack the root cause of the why. Because if the person truly doesn't pinpoint the why, then they're not addressing the issue, and the possibility of it happening again is there. And for you, the hurt partner, if you don't understand the why, then it's going to be hard for you to move forward. And this is where most people remain stuck. They want to move forward, they want to heal, they want to restore their relationship, but it's just not making sense, because 1 + 5, I thought it was 6, but you're trying to tell me it's 12. It's just not adding up. And so the why is important for both partners to be able to move forward. So this is why counseling is so important.
Absolutely. Do you have another question?
I do. Keisha says, why is it the more you try to forgive them, they try to find better ways to cheat? Well, let me just say that forgiveness cannot be something done in isolation. Because if it's done and it's quickly given, okay, I forgive you, then there are no consequences for actions. There's no accountability. There are no checks and balances. There's no system that he or she is operating under that will keep him from continuing to go down that path. So see, what happens is a lot of times when people are watching our videos or reading books or reading articles trying to figure out how to restore, they're getting pieces. A piece here and a piece here, and they go in with that piece, and they don't realize that there are other pieces or other steps that go along with certain things in order to get the true result that you're looking for. So forgiveness as a standalone thing is not enough. It is clustered together with a number of other things that are necessary. And so there is the personal individual recovery process for the person as well. Because if we're saying we're going to restore this relationship and I forgive you and let's continue, but there's no individual work done on the part of the person who was unfaithful in the first part, at first, then what's going to keep it from happening again and again and again and again? So that's why we focus on your marital recovery, your individual recovery, as well as the affair recovery to get you to a better place.
And I really don't think that your forgiveness has anything to do with their unfaithfulness, right? It's two different things, right? Because the question is, why is it the more that I try to forgive, the more ways that they try to cheat? It's not connected. Your forgiveness is you releasing the resentment and issues that you have with what's going on in your life. Their infidelity is their issues that they're coming to the table with. So it's not like the more she forgives, the more I'm going to cheat. That person is still broken and is still saturated in their brokenness. They need to work on that. You forgiving is a whole completely different path, and it's only for you. And at the end of the day, whether he stops cheating or doesn't stop cheating, you're still going to have to forgive, because most of the time we're dealing with things that happened in our past, not what's happening in our current time. So it's just two different things for me.
Interestingly, Kay Crumby says, I'm going through this same process and I honestly feel like I don't know why I was unfaithful. I truly love my wife and family, and I feel like I got caught in a moment and it was an instant regret. And I get the being caught in the moment, and I get that. But you have to pause and begin to reflect. I think that that's one of the mental faculties that God has gifted us, the ability to reason and to reflect and to walk backwards from the end to the beginning and look at the steps made along the way. You have to understand that any big decision is nothing more than a bunch of micro decisions that led to the big decision. And so if you are conscious of who you are and how you function and how you operate, then you could begin to put the pieces together. And if you don't know why, this is a perfect invitation to reach out to us, couplesacademy.org, so that we can help make sense of it and peel back the layers. I was telling somebody the other day, when you read the scripture 10 times, every time you read it, you make it a little bit more than the first time. Sure. Because you were peeling a layer back and another layer back and another layer back, which means that there are depths to truth. And once you help somebody understand the depths of their decisions, then they get the aha moment and say, man, that was it. Going back to that diagnostic, like if something's happening with my right tire, maybe you're thinking, must be the axle because the tire, is acting funny. But you may realize that it has nothing to do with that. It's something in the back left part of that vehicle that's causing something through wires to impact the front right part. My point is, a lot of times the root cause of why you do what you do isn't conscious, but when we begin to dig deep, we find the answer. That is why we combine counseling and coaching. Counseling looks at where you are today and connects it to your past. That's where you get the aha moment. That's where you get the reasons why you are the way you are, your wiring. Coaching looks at where you are today and connects it to your future. Those are the steps, the implementation, the how-to. That's the journey that you're going to take. So the combination of the two allows for a comprehensive process for you to get the individual and the relational recovery that you're seeking.
Absolutely. There's a comment from Derek Oliver. He says, Hassani, I need a 1 ASAP, please. What's a 1? A one-on-one?
A one-on-one?
Boom. We'll make sure
Let's get it, brother.
Happens.
You know who I am. We know how to connect. Let's make this happen. And this is why we're tuning in every single night. That's why you're tuning in. That's why we're tuning on, so that we can have these conversations, because sometimes it's an answer you gave 3 days ago, and then 3 days later, boom, it just clicks.
Absolutely.
And we're now in a better place.
Absolutely. Do we have time for one more?
We have time for one more question.
Slap says, I'm going through a similar situation. Sometimes I wonder why I stayed instead of leaving. Okay, I'm not sure what that was.
Because of love, you stayed because you love your spouse, but you're hurt, right? That you're vacillating back and forth. Do I stay? Do I go? And what happens is when you're in your emotions, feelings are fickle. They come and they go. They're in, they're out. They're up, they're down. Today I love you. Tomorrow I hate you. Today I want the relationship. Tomorrow I don't. And you just don't know what to do because you're not in alignment. Your spirit's saying one thing, your emotions are saying another, your intellect saying something different, you're feeling something in your physical body, and you're all over the place. And when you're in that state, it's hard to make a decision. So what people do is absolutely nothing.
Yeah, and sometimes it's good to do nothing until you find out what exactly to do. We say this all the time. The best thing you can do is nothing at all. Get on the phone with us and let us find out what's going on so we can walk you through a process. And that's what it is. Everybody has to walk through the process. If you figured out how to do the process on your own, great. You still had to walk through the process, but most people don't know what to do. There are experts in the world for a reason. I think about with business, there are experts and they're always telling you, let me cut you to the front of the line. You don't have to make all the mistakes that I made and all the booby traps. You can avoid all of that. Let me show you the way. That's what you're doing when you come to get some couples counseling. You're just getting to the front of the line, knowing exactly what to do right now so you can stop the bleeding. So reach out. We're here.
Guys, was this helpful? Did it give you what you need? A 30-minute shot for the day to get you through the night? Hopefully you're having great conversations with your spouse as a result of what we're talking about. But until then, we'll see you in the morning for another episode of the Couples Academy show, and then on tomorrow night for Ask the Experts. Love you guys. Talk to you soon.
Bye.